Okay, so guys, I'm going to talk about Silo today, and I think it's going to be an okay show. I mean, I think I'm only just on episode 3. I haven't finished watching episode 3, because I thought I'd better make this video. For us in the UK, it came out yesterday. I don't know what if it was the same for all over the world, but for us, it certainly was just yesterday. Now, I'd like to point out a few things, but before I do that, here's the intro. Okay, so welcome back. So Silo, yeah, not a bad show, I don't think. It's early days. The problem is with a lot of TV shows, especially ones like this, especially ones on Apple, they don't really get really good until like midway through. I found that happened with was it Foundation? I think it was Foundation. I think. I'm sure. Yeah, actually, I'm sure it was Foundation. And also that Invasion one that they've got on Apple. I think it's just called The Invasion or something, isn't it? That wasn't that good, in my opinion, to be honest. Visually outstanding, but, just wasn't that good. But before I go on about Silo, I want to point out something. I remember watching something, I think it was on Sky, the Sci-Fi channel, a year or so ago, or longer. It might have been longer. I think it was like 2021 or something. I was watching it on... at the time, I had a TV license, so I believe I was watching it on Now TV, which is Sky's, or Sky. I don't think I had Sky Go because we didn't have Sky at the address, so I was using Now TV, and we get a lot of the Sky content on Now TV, so that's all right. I don't use Now TV now because, pardon the pun, because I don't want a TV license. I don't believe in a TV license, and if I go too much into that, it'll be too much of a political video. And obviously I don't want to do political videos. So, what I will do is I will just quickly mention something about this because it reminds me of Ascension. Do you remember that show? It was basically about people living on a generational starship to colonize another planet that's light years away or something. I didn't watch a lot of it because I didn't really get that into it, but the context is the same. It's about a spaceship that didn't launch. The crew boarded, everyone boarded the ship, but it was never actually launched. So they believe that they're on this generational flight through space flight to another planet to colonize. Now, the comparisons I have with this is because the ship is in a silo underground. And I'm wondering, I haven't done too much research. I just wanted to mention it because it's very similar in the way it's done. In Ascension, they believe they're in space because the stars and that are being projected are outside of their windows. So any windows that they have can only see what is projected on a screen. I don't know if any of you have seen it, but it's definitely something to look at to see in comparison to Silo. Now, what's wrong with this? Oh, now my vape's not working. Technical issues. My vape's not working. My old keyboard broke, so I had to hunt out an older one. But interesting. Well, we'll see. I'll let it heat up a bit. So the ship is upright. It's in a vertical position in the silo, and it just reminds me so much of it. But this is about Silo, so let's get on with Silo. Now, like I said, I've watched the first 2 episodes when they came out. I haven't finished watching the 3rd episode because I wanted to make a video and get it out because I was supposed to make a video yesterday and release it, but unfortunately it didn't happen. Uh, but yeah, it's the potential is there, but it's the issue is I don't see it as much of a sci-fi right now. I'm hoping that there will be more sci-fi aspects coming into it later, but to me, it's just a speculative fiction post-apocalyptic. So it's post-apocalyptic speculative fiction. So it's not post-apocalyptic sci-fi unless we see something science fiction. But I mean, this is just it's just people surviving in a silo or stroke a bunker. It's not something we haven't seen before in TV or movies. There we go, starting to work. But I just don't understand why we have to go through all these speculative post apocalyptic dystopian society stuff. I mean, it's all fantasy, really. I mean, me putting it on this channel is a contradiction to me, but I believe people are watching it, and I think people will watch it and believe it is a science fiction. But as it stands right now, I haven't really seen anything in this show to suggest that it is science fiction. But Apple are doing good things. I mean, Foundation, it was okay, but yeah, there were parts of it that I really did not like. Um, it was the same with, I believe it was called Invasion. Um, it was like cutting from one place to another, and it was just, I don't know, I just didn't like it that much. So um, I don't know much. I haven't got much to say about it, to be honest, because I haven't seen enough of it. You know, I mean, if I haven't seen enough of a show, I can't really judge it. But as it stands, it has the potential to be a pretty good show or a really good show. It's just when when you look at the big picture, it's a show. It's not a movie. So they need to be able to expand it into multiple seasons. But in order to expand into multiple seasons, they have to have something happen in season one that draws us in and holds us. I mean, Stargate SG-1 had that. It had, you know, it had the climax. It had the suspenseful ending to season one. But I mean, that's the way that they used to do it for TV shows. Now they need to draw you in a lot earlier. They need to draw you in from either, I'd say, fourth or fifth episode, depending on how long the season is. Because you in Stargate SG-1 in particular, they had a long time to build the character. I mean, the characters already existed, but they needed to do their own thing for the characters. And I believe that the potential for Silo is actually very good. It's very good potential, very high potential. Except, will they do it? I don't know. I don't know if they'll do it. And I can't see any evidence of it so far. And I know we're only in episode 3, but I can't see how it would go much further, to be honest. I mean, the thing about Ascension is it did not draw me in. Okay, it was a sci-fi, but was it? Really? I mean, the ship wasn't flying through space for real. So, I mean, does it make sense for it to be a sci-fi? I mean, it's more like those are some of those films from the 90s. It's like let me think of an example. Um, the Truman Show, basically. People outside running an experiment, seeing how life will go if on a ship traveling through space for generations. That's what the experiment is. I don't know how long. I mean, it was supposed to have been launched in the early 70s, maybe late 60s. But I don't understand a lot of the ideas around Ascension. Now, Silo is different, but there are very similar aspects. I mean, they are in a vertical place. It is basically a tower built underground. That's essentially what it is. It's a tower. As you can see, I like the idea of that because Rocinante from Tachi 251 MCRN. It's my favourite ship in sci-fi at the moment because it's the most realistic, and I've seen it do realistic things in the show. There are other ships in the show that do realistic things, but it's it's a different show. It's the Expanse. I mean, if you don't like the Expanse, then I don't see how you've got much of an interest in sci-fi. To be honest, it is the most sci-fi, realistic sci-fi that has ever been made. So with sci-fi, with Silo, it's just the truth will surface. Now, in the first two episodes, we see the sheriff. His wife has to go outside and do a clean because she'd done something wrong, so she asked to go outside, and they by law they have to allow it. But we see her die in episode 1. In season 2, we see the sheriff go out and he dies. But interestingly enough, they get about the same distance from the entrance to the silo. He turns around, gives it a clean to let people see, turns around again and goes to walk over to his wife's dead body, where his wife's dead body is. But the interesting thing is, I don't know if anyone noticed, but when he was outside, her body and the suit were not there. Did you notice that? But on the sensor, they were still there. So when the sheriff went out, Did you hear him start choking and suffocating like there was no air in the suit? Now I reckon that as a control measure, so that they can't take their helmet off and prove that it's survivable out there. There's either a chemical in that air filter or tank that causes them to suffocate. It could be any type of gas or chemical that can burn or damage the lungs. But I think that's a big thing. I don't think the mayor or anyone like that is actually involved in the issues that are going on with the silo. I reckon it's the judicials. I mean, I'm about halfway through episode 3, so I've seen what the judicials are like, or kind of like, and they seem to be like the federal government type deal. Telling people what to do in the background. Trying to control the narrative and the environment. If you're American and you don't like that, I apologise. It's just it's a view. I'm not saying that's what it is. It's like one of your letter agencies, like the CIA or NSA. They come in and try and manipulate the situation. It's like that type of thing. It's like a shadow government type deal, not necessarily the federal government, but the shadow government. That type of deal. So, with Silo, I could see it being a good show, like I say. However, I can't imagine many good stories coming out of it. I mean, the only thing I could see is it maybe lasting 2 or 3 seasons as it is, but then if it goes a 4th or 5th season, then they have to be outside the silo. They have to know that it's survivable outside, so they go outside and they start growing crops or something, or they find out that it's been a whole big experiment, just like the Ascension crew. It's an experiment, see how people survive. So that's what I think. is either going to be... There's only two ways it can be. Either the world is perfectly fine and they don't need to actually be where they are. They don't have to be in the silo. Maybe there was something that happened and then now it's clean in the air and you can go outside. But, you can't do anything other than that. I can't see where it's going to go. And... comment down below. Let me know what you think of Silo. Tell me if you agree that it's too much like Ascension to be ignored, because that's what I think. I think it is way too similar to Ascension, in my opinion. Is the sheriff and his wife going to be perfectly fine living a life outside together? Maybe they've had a kid. I mean, we don't know how long it's going to be before we actually see them again. Because I believe we're going to see them again. Because like I said, when the sheriff went outside in his suit, his wife's suit wasn't there. And you'd think that would last more than a year, because it has been a year between episode 1 and episode 2. So episode 2 was like a year later. Or even if it's 3 years later, the suit would still be there. But when he went outside, it's like it was all that green, there was flowers. But when you were inside looking at the screen, it was all grey and boring and dull and dead. And her body was laying there, but when he went outside, it wasn't. Not even the suit. There was no evidence of the suit. So it's either they didn't want people to know that it was perfectly safe outside the silo, and they wanted to maintain control because all they have is the power that they were given, or it's an experiment, and they realise it later on. Maybe that's what they do. Who knows? Now, as I might be saying, I'm smoking a lot of this vape. It's just I'm not taking as much as a lot of people do. I've seen a lot of people take multiple seconds worth of vape in, and then blow out big puffs of smoke, big puffs of it, and I don't like that. So I only do like little bits at a time, because I don't want a big plume in front of me. It's terrible. It's ridiculous. But comment down below and let me know what you think. And I'll leave it there. Okay? I'll catch you on the flip side. See you later, guys.